Get ready to dive into the world of meaningful conversations. Engel Jones is the master of extracting wisdom in just 12 minutes. This conversation virtuosus has conducted over 3,000 interviews on his podcast, 12-Minute Convos, turning the brief chats into profound exchanges. Engel isn't just hosting a podcast, he's revolutionizing how we connect and communicate. His unique ability to ask thought provoking questions and create a safe space for authentic sharing has turned his show into a global phenomenon. Jones digs deep in uncovering insights that often surprise even his guests. With a mission to share unique narratives and foster unlimited networks through meaningful conversation, Engel Jones is your guide for unlocking the power of impactful dialogue. Welcome to the Supporters Fund, Impact Investing. I'm your host, Jeffrey J.P. Potvin, and today we're exploring the power of conversation with Engel Jones, host of 12-Minute Convos. Engel has extracted insights from thousands of guests, and we're excited to dive into how effective communication can drive change and impact investing, but in the world, in conversations. So let's discover how the art of conversation could amplify our efforts in creating a meaningful impact. Welcome, Engel, to the show. We're really amazing to have you today. So excited to dive into this conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I got to say that the reason you and I first got connected was, I'm going to say it was 7 years ago. We were talking on LinkedIn. Is that the time frame?
100%.
And we dove into a conversation. I feel like I was some young junior guy that was trying to find his way in life. And I got the opportunity to have a chat with you. And you just pulled out information from me, analyzed it in nanoseconds like you were a GPU AI accelerator, drove through, pulled out some fantastic insights. And then we reconnected and got to talk again a few more times and then dove back into another conversation, which again enlightened me. And this got me excited to say, I really got to talk to this guy, bring him into the podcast so that everybody else can learn how you do what you do, how great you are at this 12-minute conversation. And there's a lot of elements that tie into it. But before we jump into that, I want to learn more about you, your background, where you came from, and then one thing about you that nobody would know.
Well, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, the Twin Islands. That's just northeast of Venezuela. That's the marker point. I was born here, but just like many other Caribbean people, my roots are all over the place. Yeah. One thing. I would say I love lawn care. I love lawn care. I love getting out there. Well, recently, the belt on the thing that creates the drive that makes me look as though I'm strong, pushing the lawnmower, gave out. So now I'm actively pushing the thing, and now it's exercise. And I think there's a message there. Yeah, that like something starts off being tremendously challenging, and the more you do it, it gets easier and you get stronger. So that would be the one thing.
I love that, and I like the way you look at things. It's you're diving into something that was you're doing every week, and you turn it into something that you enjoyed and look forward to. And I think there's a lot of opportunities that we sometimes forget about, that we make it look like it's a challenge, it's annoying, I can't stand doing this, I'll hire someone else to do it. But it's walking, it broke, you got to now push, you're building strength. There's so many elements that get tied into something that just seems so small. And I love the fact that you just love lawn. Like, when you're done, it's crisp, it's clean, it looks amazing.
I love it. I love it. You're like, let's not do that. It'll be the entire conversation. Yeah. Yeah. And again, I was of the mindset, yeah, that, hey, why am I going to do that? That's definitely something I'm paying for. And tools really make work easy. Yeah. Having the tools, the tech really helps. So even though I'm considering fixing the belt, because I just want to know I have the tech to not have to push, it's so therapeutic. It's been extremely therapeutic. So it's one of the secrets to the podcast. Yeah. How do you have so many conversations and then you're able to process that? Yeah. I go cut grass.
No, that's a awesome way of looking at it. I think we all have to find ways to process. In my case, I enjoy walking or running. Running's the big one. That's the one that really pushes me. But the walking part just lets me work through my thoughts, work through. Running just allows me to do it in a hyper speed version of it because you have to move quicker. But I like the idea that you can just take the time to think, and that's your time to put a podcast on or whatever you're doing while cutting. But it allows you to take yourself out of your element, think about a problem, and come back and solve it, or whatever you might be going through. So in this fashion, you've got this thing you love, of course, which is awesome, and you create this fantastic 12-minute conversations with people. Let's go back a little bit further. You also have a strong background and like you've done some cool things. You built your own companies. You've got financial analysts. Like you've got just things that allow your brain to work. You're doing financial. Like you got a lot of stuff here. What are some of the learnings that you've gained, and maybe share a bit about what some of that past looked like, and then what motivated you to start diving into conversations? Because you've got people all over the world, all different walks of life, that are coming on and giving you their whole life story in 12 minutes, and you're analyzing it and you're doing some amazing things with that. What got you started? What was the history that brought you to that point?
Yeah, well, I mean, thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah, it has definitely been a journey to getting to here. But more than anything else, I would say it's interesting. I would say it's a combination of my parents. My mother and my father are like north and east. Well, north and south. Yeah, they're, they're two different poles. But yet, I've been able to gain from that. My background in terms of being an employee of my father in his side hustle, which was tile laying and being the laborer, I would call myself, right? The person who does everything and everything, right? Who's helping the skilled laborer. Uh, I learned a ton in that space. 80% of it being communication with the customer. Yeah, I saw my father go in, begin a job that's probably the front area of a property. And then he would be doing the entire property, right? So it's the concept of getting your foot in the door and what that looks like. Of course, matching it with quality. Yeah, the quality that you bring to the table in a short period of time. And then there's my mother, the intuitive. I call her the oracle. Yeah, who's tapped into God, who makes us go to church every Sunday, right? No cartoons, even though for some reason they've decided to show all the best cartoons on Sundays. Yeah, but we're in church on Sundays, and then there's the spiritual side. Yeah, those two things combined has really helped me through any stage of my life, to be quite honest. So did the employee job where I worked where my father worked, and eventually got into the laboratory. So I have like this science tech background, right? With as well the audit perspective. Yeah, we used ASTM standards and British standards / EN standards for cement testing. That was just beautiful in terms of getting to play and learn and understand more so people. Yeah, it was one thing working in a laboratory by myself. It was another thing when we started working together with other people, and the diversity and the understanding of personalities. Like that was the biggest takeaway. And it's exactly then when things got really challenging that I started listening while working. And that was my introduction to podcast, audiobooks, and I think everyone that listens or reads at some point gets the option to do the same. Yeah, and I got the opportunity in a mastermind group to have these meetups, and I thought, all right, 15 minutes is too much, 10 minutes is too little, but 12 is just enough. Yeah, and I tested that in this mastermind group that was done by Aaron Walker from Tennessee, and one thing led to the next, and then I solicited my wife to do her podcast. I encouraged her to do her podcast. She writes books as well. She did it for a while. And then she said, I'm tired. I was like, all right, it's my turn now. And my first episode is the worst, right? Like you go listen to that and it like it hurts, right? Nevertheless, by remaining consistent and continuously doing it, I get praises from people like JP who says, "Yeah, your podcast is amazing." So yeah, I think that's the timeline.
I love that, and there's a bunch of things that we'll unpack in that. But what I like about it is of course, when you shared the first episode, I can relate. I felt like I was very structured. I was so scared to go outside the lines because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was scared. And I probably did that for the first 100. So don't listen to the first 100, even though they'll be choppy and hard to understand. But it kind of feels the same way that you're learning. But as you learn, you get more comfortable. You get a little bit more creative, and you start to blur the line of what this box was. But when you were going through and learning this, what I think the key that I really liked is when you were working with your father, your father probably had structure, and this was how you do the job. We get up at 5 a.m. and we go and we do this and we get it done and we get home. And you went outside the box because you were like, yeah, but if this person on the other side, the client, if we make them happy and we talk to them and we listen and we learn, there's so much value we can gain from that. So this little job of getting in the door becomes, now you're going to be doing the whole outside. You're building pools, you're doing everything, when it just started off was, painting the front door. And I think that there's an exceptional way for startups to kind of learn from this, is that you have to find a way to break down the barriers, which is everybody has their own barriers of blocking why you're not worthy to come into my house or my company. And it's that little step that you make. And I like how you focus it on the person, understanding them.
Yeah, you're tapping into fundamentals as well, right? So, and this is basic trust. Yeah, you get trust. You are trusted. It's so powerful to be trusted from the perspective of building a relationship. And then at this particular age, I'm seeing the legacy aspect of it. So the trust that my father has been able to garner actually is trust that I have access to. And it's the same with startups, I would imagine. Yeah, like if you're recommending someone to an investor, it changes the dynamics of the relationship. Yeah, and it's worth a lot walking the next keyword, integrity. Yeah, integrity and truth. It's just these basic fundamentals that I've found work no matter what you apply them to. The one thing I would say is it's a slow grind most times. Yeah, it always takes, like, it feels like it takes forever to get going, but then the momentum steps in. There's something Dave Ramsey teaches. It's focus. Momentum is focused intensity over time multiplied by God. Yeah, and I've seen that in every single thing I've been doing. I've seen what momentum looks like, and now it encourages me to stick on. Yeah, and not give up, because even though it looks like it's impossible, right? But I've seen momentum. It's like the concept of how the grass grows. I've looked at the grass and I was like, all right, what makes you grow? Who tells you to grow? Why are you growing? Sometimes I'm like, why are you growing? Right? But the concept of momentum, like the grass is there and then a slight drizzle of rain falls and then you see that things shoot up. Yeah. And I think even with businesses and startups, because I want to get out into into investors matching with startups, and I would imagine it's the same, yeah. Like the small business person is there, and then the investor comes in, like the best type of rain, yeah, not acidic, very good pH, and boom, yeah. So
And I liked the way you said earlier that there was the quality element. So if I was to analyze the environment that you had, your father already had built the quality that was already there, hands down. Quality was there. So now it was, how do I change and embrace the growth of this, which is everywhere we go, he's recognized as quality. So he's going to get the job. He's going to go and do it. So can we expedite that into more jobs and quicker because I can bring the personality side. I can bring the thing that he's been too busy doing the work, which is showing the quality. I can bring the branding side and elevate other aspects of the business. So you start to look deeper into how this whole thing is functioning. So he's already created the door, got the door open, you're going in, and you're then taking it and saying, hey, I got an opportunity here to change the landscape, grow the business, grow the value. So I think that's kind of powerful too, because it's the way a startup works is that they say, let me pitch, I can close anybody when I pitch them. That's their mindset. Any customer I'll get in front of, I'll close them. And that's the confidence of that founder, because they're really good at talking their game and getting people to believe that there's going to be quality. But when you've already got the quality, then it's about how do I extenuate the value with that person? How can I take that trust and bring it to the next level and then get them to introduce me to more people? So there's such a big process that can come out of it once you do that great job.
Hmm. That's good. Again, it's slower, right? And that's the challenge. Yeah, it's slower. But yeah, like I have three sons, and I I always think about how are they going to benefit from what I'm doing. Yeah, so it's the quality concept, and there's one thing I'll add. Yeah, you could expand, but there's an option as well to increase price. Yeah. So if you're set in this purpose thing you're doing, it's okay. You don't need to do more jobs necessarily to make more money. You can simply increase your price because now there's a surplus of people that want access to the quality you offer. And that position is one that many entrepreneurs like really wish they could get to, not just from the perspective of yes it's there, but from the mindset. Yeah, to say, okay, I know I can do this at this cost, but because I can only do one of these jobs in 1 month, this is going to be the price, and I need to increase this price. Yeah, so just wanted to throw that in to the pot. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, and wholeheartedly agree that you can value your time at that point because demand is increasing the value. And I think as you kind of grow and you started to talk about the different elements that tie into you and what made you the person you are, and then how you kind of moved into the 12-minute conversations, as you started to progress and learn and start to challenge yourself and say, you know what, I got to go outside the box, I got to do something different. What was You take the learnings that you've gained throughout time and now you decide to go into into the podcast, and you mentioned kind of how that first podcast went. What was the mindset that you went in? Did you know what your outcome was going to be, that you were going to travel through North America and hit up all these countries, and did you know you were going to do 1,200 podcasts or 3,000 podcasts? Did you already envision that, or it was, you know what, I'm going to take a couple baby steps here, I'm going to try to see what I can come up with? Like, what was the angle that you came up with to start? Because it's so impactful, but I'm assuming you just kept growing into the position. It wasn't day one, I'm doing X.
Yeah, well, I thank you for what you're doing. I just want to put that in there because conversations like these are key to helping people reflect on who they are and what they do. And this in itself is it's healing at its best. Yeah. And I believe the podcast and the forum, there's more to it than simply the publicity and the PR that goes with it. It's us manufacturing conversations that actually change lives that is then shared with other people. So thank you first of all for what you do. When when I jumped into podcasting, it comes back to the quality concept. I listened to podcasts, but then I was wondering if the guest or that I was listening to, that was being interviewed by the host, really had a quality life. Because it's okay to really prep and sound as though everything's put together. But from my perspectives, and Zig lays this out with mental, spiritual, career, physical, financial, personal, family, the KPIs, if you would, for a balanced life that then helps you have a smooth ride is what he uses the bicycle and the spokes on the wheel being each, as I mentioned. And what I've seen is I would listen to an interview but not know if the effects of the success that the person actually achieved allow them to have that balanced life. So I thought, hey, if I could have a conversation that encapsulates questions that helps highlight whether that's being achieved, then I would know exactly what works and what doesn't work. Johnny Dumas is the guy I was listening to, Dave Ramsey, Zig Ziglar, the combo of those three podcasts. So guess what? I said, if I could do as many episodes as John, because Dave was cutting up a 3 hour interview into podcast. So he would have like 3 episodes per day. So he was on gazillions of episodes, right? Johnny Dumas, he did 1 episode every day. And at the point with when I looked at it, he would be in 2016, 1,580 episodes, somewhere around there, yeah? So I said, all right, the goal is to have 1,585 conversations in 1 year. And if I could do what he did, then I would have achieved the skill set he has through his experience. And, I remember it was August and I had 76 episodes recorded.
Shooting big, you got to go big.
Well, it proves momentum is a real thing, yeah? So I was going to give up. And of course, I went to this conference and heard the voice here that said never give up. Came to Trinidad in September and started. So now I'm the maths is 1509, yeah? I got 76, so 1509. I'm not giving up the 1585 number. And yeah, I started. And my friend, like I don't do the numbers as much because my wife says, hey, you like don't do so many numbers, yeah, even though I'm a numbers guy. But I'll tell you, I probably had like 70 something episodes in the first month. The second month I had 200 and something. I should have given up. But the third month, I had like 600, over 600 conversations. I eventually got to, in those 3 months, 1,001 conversations. It's just amazing. Now, looking back at that guy, I call him crazy, yeah? That younger guy, right? Because, yeah, I was podcasting sometimes 16, 18 hours all hours of the morning. I'm speaking to people in New Zealand, which are different time zones from me. Uh, I'm doing cat naps, like I can't even call them power naps, like cat naps, right? Like 1 hour, get up, and but I did it, and at that point, the goal was simply to have the conversations, not sell, not not try to promote something, just simply have the conversations. And that was 2016. I was an absolute life changer. Yeah, just achieving that. It was an absolute life changer.
That's incredible. And the story, I think, is that passion and drive will equate to some form of success in the future, but your passion and drive was that you created an element of, I need to be able to accomplish this. And you didn't want to not say no, because I think the end goal was that once you had the opportunity to say you did it, it was what you went through that makes the story so amazing. Catnaps. No one would ever have imagined that you would have been catnapping. I wouldn't have known how you could do 600 podcasts in obviously a month. It's a lot. So you're like, did you sleep? So, but the whole process is the excitement level of it. And when someone hears it, they're like, oh my, that's incredible. You almost are lost for words of the drive it took to successfully accomplish this goal. And the goal was you were extending the goalpost each time because you weren't sure you were going to do it. And then you kept pushing. And then all of a sudden you hit the number. And, it's like in a professional athlete that once they accomplish something, they get the, I don't know, win the race or whatever. Then do they think, well, I bet best time in the world. Now what? I guess I'm done. I'll retire. What's that next level? And you kept pushing the next envelope. So your excitement for that energetic draw that you got from creating these first initial podcasts to prove that you could be just as successful as the others, you also sped through. Someone that took 5 years to get to a learning, you did it in a year. So that's also incredible learning. So now take that back a step and say, at the end of all these podcasts, the excitement's gone. You hit the number. What did you learn from it? What was the key, not the gratifying side, but what did you learn from all of this, from podcast one to 2000? What did you take from it? What was the thing that you would share and say, here's top five things I learned, and it was the best thing I ever did?
All right, so let's say one, the team is so important. Yeah, so I didn't do it by myself. I had a team that the systemizing, it was important as well. Yeah, I did that on a very high level. I'm a systems guy. Uh, I'll put my wife in there for sure, right? Like to be able to give me the space to do what I did and the support. We're talking about meals coming in, yeah, in between. Like, just think about it, just crazy, yeah. I'd also say, and I want to go forward, like, remind me to go forward in terms of what I learned as well, right? But I would say as well, relationships. Relationships, there were people that would come onto the podcast and one person would go tell 50 other people. Yeah. And then there's one person that wouldn't tell anyone, but their life was transformed by the conversation, their words. Yeah. And then they went and they helped a lot of other people because I had the conversation, and something they said just flew into my mind, and I needed to tell them, and they did it. One person comes to mind immediately where she create in Colorado, she created and went on with uh, mindfulness, and she set up her business, and she's wildly successful from the perspective of the impact she's having on the lives of children today. And then fast forward, when we did the road trip, she said, "Hey, you guys need to come stay by me." Yeah. And it was just absolutely amazing in terms of that experience. So definitely relationships. You said five, right? So let me give you one more. Uh the human capacity is something that really blows my mind in terms of, like, there were times on those podcasts I lost my voice, and I still showed up. And that's where, I think mental is good, intellectual is good, but the spiritual side, there were elements of the spiritual side, my friend, that was scary sometimes that I saw, right? Because no one is seeing or listening to the conversations I'm having in one day, but to see the connections, yeah, the connections, the synchronicity, it was wild. It was wild, yeah. So those are the five things I would say. And I remembered going forward, the knowing myself, understanding who I am, that was even more powerful, because within the conversations, there are things that got really clear on some days. Like when I messed up, when I said something I should have not said, not within the podcast, but to my son or to my wife, and someone's talking and they say something or they tell a story, and it brings my experience like crystal clear of how I should improve on this thing. Like, that was something that really was interesting to me, how by serving others, by helping others pursue excellence, I myself was able to do the same.
That's awesome. Incredible. Um, I'm going to peel back a few of these, but obviously, I love the fact that you call out that this isn't a single solo drive, that your team really helps enable you, helps offset some of that pressure. Because, again, 30 podcasts or 300 podcasts in a day is going to be quite a bit of work. But having that team, the wife supporting you and giving you the space to work and operate and allow you the cat naps and food all at the same time so you can just be your best, it makes a big difference on execution. And I like the idea when you were talking about the spiritual side that connected into this, because in most of the podcasts of the 12-minute convo podcast, that there was always an element where you were going one step deeper into the conversation. And that's what I really loved about it, because you don't get that from conversations. They don't go very deep. They're usually surface level. Hey, I'm successful. do these 6 things and you'll be great. And you were literally peeling back the layers, and the people were just wanting to give that experience. And then you were able to kind of surface level it with a value and say, hey, you went this deep and you shared all of this. But did you ever think that this was why you kind of went this direction? And then they had this reflection moment, and then they would be like, yeah, I agree. I almost feel like probably people were, in a way, resolving a lot of their own conflict in that conversation. Maybe they had a cry after because it felt like some of them could have gone in that direction. So did you feel that when you were being present and you were letting them be present for 12 minutes, the people were just unfolding the cards, and it was just that much more important for you to keep doing these because you started to realize that people were just throwing their heart at you, and you were like, hey, we just met, but this is incredible.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. And again, it happens in different forms and fashions, yeah. But yeah, 100%. Like the earliest childhood memory question is one that I do not ask now. So those conversations were templated. Yeah, it was a template script. And I remember one person coming and they literally had the answers written out, right? And they were answering these, and I was like, no, this is not what this is, though, right? Like, let's go with the flow of this. And over time, I realized that, yeah, you're correct. The questions. Hey, let me tell you how I got the questions. So those questions, the podcast is set up. At that time, we're going to a studio to record, right? Wildly expensive, yeah. But because I got this equipment and my wife suggested I get, there she goes again, right? And I wasn't going, I almost procrastinated on it, right? Like we visited a guitar center. She said, you should buy it. I was like, nah, we should probably get it another time. She's like, nah, I think you should buy that. And that is what really, like, if I had to do 1,000 conversations at the studio, I couldn't imagine how the budget would have been for that thing, yeah. And here it is, another aspect of podcasting that I'm promoting, yeah. How simple it is, yeah. Like you're traveling and you just get the mic and you're doing it, right? So, nevertheless, so yes, it's been amazing creating a space for people to open up, and but it has been strategic as well. I see it as carrying someone underwater and realizing that if we go really deep, we have to remember the bends, yeah. We have to take you up slowly because we don't want the thing you're grasping for, that which is air, to then kill you later on in life, right? And that's what I did. The way I got the questions, I just went to my son's bedroom and I said, all right, Lord, like, give it to me. And that's how I got those questions. And that's the spiritual side of how I'm fascinated by how God throws a seed and it ends up being more than I could ever imagine and continues to grow. And that's why I like cutting his lawn that he, lets grow continuously, right? That's the hidden fact, right? It's just fascinating. To me, it's miraculous, yeah, that the thing still grows after all of these years.
I completely agree with that. And I like the way the analogies, and I kind of equated to this meaningful soul chats. It's like a way of, I don't know, purging yourself, but it is a way of just kind of letting go and being in a comfortable space to be able to do that. And I think you've accomplished that through, again, all these great learnings and the things that you've shared. Going deep and allowing people a space to do that, I think is pretty amazing on what you've been able to succeed on. And I know you spent some time traveling through North America and doing live chats, and I think that builds excitement. Now, in, let's just say, in this learning, as you went through and you went back and said, hey, I'm going to go interview all these people again 7 years later and see if there are some interesting changes. Did it change people's lives? And you mentioned a few that did change their lives. Is there a couple of other ones that pop into mind that you were just, really excited to hear and learn about? And then what changed in how you communicated with people because of these learnings? Did you start to, you said you listened more, but did you also become more precise in how you started to engage with people, because now you kind of built an art on how to, I don't know, pull levers, but get people more engaged quicker? So you took a 5-year podcast program and turned it into 1 year. So did you do the same thing in your conversations with people? Found a better way to maneuver with them?
Well, so that's the loaded question. Thank you very much. Right. so I'd say first up, I did. So it was. I stopped podcasting when we lost my mother-in-law, which is my wife's mother, and that was just really a tough time, yeah, for the entire family. And then there's an element of me that began listening to the podcast. Like, for example, when I visited the US and I'm meeting people, there's no way I could remember. Well, I don't know how to remember all of those people I spoke with. But when I listen to it, it immediately clicks, and then I'm back to, yeah, I remember everything. Yeah. So I listened to myself, and there were things that I realized I could have corrected, because I'm not editing my podcast. My team is editing my podcast. And that in itself is a disadvantage, because if I was listening, I could improve on what I believe needed to be improved. Uh, it has changed how I have conversations today. I have people coming on saying, I thought you were going to ask me what was my earliest childhood memory, right? Because they listened to the older episodes that you were part of, right?
Hmm.
And as valuable as that's been, I always listen to the inner voice that tells me, okay, it's time to change this thing. And believe me, I do it, and I'm wondering, did I hear correctly here? Like, should, if I was just doing the template questions, this would have been a lot easier. Yeah. And then bringing you back onto the podcast, like, did I hear this correctly? Because that's more work. If I have a new guest, the prep time is a lot less than if I need to go listen to your podcast from before and then prep for the conversation, like make notes, because there are 20 of types of your episodes that I'm having in one day. So there are 20 types of notes. By 12 minutes is 240 minutes. That's 4 hours here. That's just prep time, right? But I did it, and in doing that I got better. So it's me sharpening the saw. My friend, I'll reference a review that someone gave on a platform that we use for podcast guests. It's Podmatch. And the lady basically said that she's been having interviews for the last 30 years, and no one has ever asked the questions that I've asked. And she is in media, and she has, like, she's been on the Oprah show. Yeah. So I don't use my measurement for what is working. I listen to what people say, and I would say, yeah, it's doing well. Yeah. The way of listening and then going deeper, because I get to now. Yeah. I get the opportunity to do that now.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that because someone posted it, you can utilize that understanding and help yourself continue to morph and shift in time, because you're listening to yourself, you're making corrections, you're getting better. It's like 10,000 hour rule by Malcolm Gladwell. So you're always trying to rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. And then other people are giving you feedback and you're like, that's great. I could keep being better. So it's this endless loop of improvement, which I guess in a way it allows you to figure out, how can I go deeper with someone in a conversation quicker? I have a limited time, and what parts can I modify because of the way I've been feeling and engaging? If you had only had 100 podcasts, would you feel the same way as 3,000? I'm going to say probably not even close.
Hmm. No way, unless it was like an hour, 2 hour long conversations. Yeah, but
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a coach as well, right? So I'm a coach, and the podcast has helped me to be a very good coach, based on not just saying that you should go after your goals, but showing that I've gone after goals and achieved them. Yeah. So it works. Yeah. Like I hear you. Like I'll do a quick example. We're having this conversation, and I hear you. I'm hearing your humility, because first of all, you're narrating, but you're as well being a conduit for the conversation in a way that you are listening, actively listening. Your whole entity is listening to what I'm saying and then responding. I'm also hearing where you are in life, right? In terms of your legacy. Yeah. So that's what happens. Like, and I think everyone can do that. It's just simply being present, as we've been hearing, in the new age, right? Like, it's so important to be present. But it is just asking yourself, like, what am I feeling right now? And how are you feeling about this response? And then asking the question, because sometimes you're wrong and sometimes you're right. And you ask the question, and then if it's true, you see where it takes you.
Agreed. And when you were the last time we spoke, when we did the last podcast with yourself, you kind of asked me, said, "Did you go back and listen to when we first talked to where you listen now?" And you were like, "It feels like we were trying to figure out what the term was, but it was like I matured." So it's it's like I had grown up a lot in that 7 years from a high speed conversation to a more slower paced, methodical thinking process. And I realized that when I listened back and forth too. So you were accurate, bang on, perfect analogy. And maybe that wouldn't have come if you hadn't spoken a lot of times and listened to a lot of people and interviewed a lot of people. So I think that that nature of being in that process has allowed you to slow the conversation down. So they may be talking at 400 miles an hour, but for you, you're like almost putting it on pause, slowing it down, taking it all in, and then regurgitating something back out of value. But you're able to do that in nanoseconds, where another person might need 5 minutes, write some notes down, go do the board work, and then come back and say, here's what I think you should be like. But because you've done so many, you're able to take that in and hyper speed it through because you're dead focused on it. And you've seen thousands of conversations like this. So you can break it down, give a quick analysis, and bring back that value that that person's looking for.
Hmm. Yeah, I could speak with you forever. I'll give you two things. One, slowing down to speed up is the key. It's the secret. Yeah. And the like the visual is the person who's pulling the arrow back, right? The archer. Everyone will tell you, like, why are you doing that? We're going backwards. If they're seeing just the arrow, not the archer, yeah, not the bow, and they're saying, why are you doing that? But you're focusing, you're getting on target, then you've released the arrow. What goes faster than the arrow? Yeah, to the target. And it's exactly that. Yeah, it's the biggest secret. But within that, you get to reflect, you get to listen because you need to, because if the wind is blowing and you don't listen to the wind, you could focus how much ever you want to. The arrow is going to be blown away from the target. Yeah. So there are other elements, but yeah, you did exactly what you needed to do right there in the conversation. Yeah. That's the key. Slow down to speed up and then do it again.
And I think a lot of this conversation we're having today really relates to that young founder or old founder, whoever's creating this new company, is that they really do need to slow down before they speed up, figure out what they're really trying to solve, figure out the what, the who's, the how, and what they're trying to accomplish, because they're all running so fast that they're forgetting fundamentals. They're not listening. They certainly don't have their ear to the ground because they're trying to survive and hustle. And if they do take that second, pull back, and start to reflect, you'll probably see a bigger shift because they can get a bigger perspective. And I think there maybe those are some of the things that are lacking. And taking that 12-minute conversation, maybe they need to also have their own conversations like this where they can slow them down, listen to themselves, pitch their business, listen to themselves, figure out who their clients are. And maybe that will give them better perspective in order to move their business forward.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, even if we come full circle to the person you spoke about, yeah, the person who could pitch and close everyone, it's not always the best thing being able to get the money that could do the thing and you just going really fast with it, right? It's actually been proven to be the detriment of many companies. Yeah, when they do get the investment money and what happens as opposed to the person who's building, yeah, and struggling and grinding, and because there are lessons in there. Yeah, there are some really great lessons. Not saying that investment money is not good and can do the opposite. Yeah, but it's just something again to be mindful of.
Agreed. Is there, maybe before we switch to this next segment, is there maybe on the storytelling side a perspective that maybe you've gained over the last couple of years in doing this podcast on how you maybe express a story now today versus prior? Like you're learning, is there something that stands out more where you were like, you know, when I always talk, I like to share this in the story so that people can get a better perspective of where I'm coming from sooner than having to wait till the end?
I- Not really. Like nothing comes to mind there, yeah. Not really. I show up and I attempt not to be a template, yeah, of myself. So I show up like this morning as an example. I did my prep, yeah. I did my prep, but I'm just showing up and I'm feeling what's the flow and I'm responding based on that. And yeah, I'm praying that whoever listens to this, it impacts their life in a way that is evergreen, because the technology of and the concept of evergreen is just another miracle. Yeah, so could you imagine someone's listening to this 10 years from today and it affect their lives, right? Like that is just amazing, right? It will have
Agreed.
that potent yeah, the potency to be able to affect someone's life 10 years from today. So yeah, that's the way I show up, and I'm praying that it's, yeah, I'm speaking words that could carry on for generations.
I think there's three things I'm going to pull out of that that maybe in your humbleness you're not utilizing as key structures here. Is that you weren't templating yourself, you were going with the flow, which means that you were being dynamic, and third, you showed up, and you showed up with your A game. So I think those are things that mindsets of a startup is that I need to show up every time, and I have to be on my game, and I can't be the box that I'm trying to put myself in. I have to be flowing and fluid so I can dynamically change as I'm going in this conversation. And that's when I'm pitching. I need to do the same. I can't just be like, this is how it is. So I can't answer questions and I'm just too structured. So I think there's a little bit of elements that you kind of certainly take from that that makes you who you are. And I think these are huge for a founder going in front of them pitching for $1 million. They have to be more fluid, they have to be more dynamic, and they have to show up.
Hmm. I'm excited to start pitching. You're getting me excited.
I love it. All right, well, here we're going to jump into our next one of my favorite sections. Obviously, learning about yourself is tier one, but this is the second one, which is we're going to jump into the 60-second rant. So you have 60 seconds to rant about anything in the world that just drives you crazy. I'm going to put the timer on, and I'll always share that the timer is 60 seconds, but no one ever hits it. But I don't even know why I put the timer on, but we'll let you jump into it. When you're ready, fire away.
I think my rant is going to be the gentleman concept, yeah. Recently my wife walked into a grocery store and there's this security guard that has stepped out of his boundaries, I think, yeah. And I understand my wife is a beautiful woman, yeah, she's attractive, but I think like it's important to step in your lane, yeah. So my rant, again, showing up as honest and as pure as I can. Yeah, that's my rant. Like, come on, stay in your lane. Yeah, have respect. I think is really important today. Like give it a chance. Go slow. Yeah, inquire, observe, and stay in your lane.
I like that because this goes and appeals to everything in business. I'm supposed to rant against you, but I think that to your point is that we all have the opportunity to look at the world and go after things in the world. And I think the position of going after stuff in the world or challenging for something else or demanding or asking or taking whatever is that there are ways to show up and there's ways to be competitive, there's ways to do things that allow for that next step to occur, whatever that might be. I think that there is a subtle misalignment in learning on how that approach actually works. And this goes with the same thing as learning finances in school. The things that we should be learning about, business acumen, personal acumen, other things, hygiene, whatever it is, that we lack the ability to share the things that humans really need to take more time to focus on. So then everything else becomes so crazy because the learning isn't there, or they learned it when they're 5 and they never picked up on again. So maybe there's a education factor or re-education factor. You get your driver's license at 16, you don't have to retest until you're 70 and you can't see again anymore. So there's so many elements that don't get retested that you almost forget because it's innate in your ability to do whatever you want because you're human. And I think some things need to be reiterated if that's possible.
I love that. Yeah. I interviewed someone this weekend. Last weekend, they were telling me about the concept of resurrecting themselves consistently. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it speaks to what you're talking about. Yeah, what's necessary to resurrect myself? Am I at that point where I'm dead? Yeah, to the things that I've been doing over and over and over and over again. Yeah, so yeah, some of us need to resurrect ourselves, just like our license test. Yeah, like you probably need some refreshers. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. That's a good point. All right, we're going to move into the quick questions. Pick one or the other that best supports you. What advice would you give? Well, this one's going to be more question. We'll get to the personal ones in a second. What advice would you give to other podcasters if they want to start up their own podcast? What's 9 out of 10 times advice you would share to them?
Have a conversation with someone who's been podcasting. It'll change the errors that you end up running into because you didn't.
That's actually huge. Yeah, agreed. Love that. Who is your hero, mentor, and why?
Jesus is the most fascinating person to walk the earth for me. I'm fascinated by his model of having conversations with people who like just would not be the go-to if I was considered powerful and touching the earth.
Amen. I love it. I think a lot more people need to embrace more open-mindedness to how the world can operate, but how you can fit into the world with all of the spiritual value that's out there and how it can benefit you, your family, and your life.
Hmm.
What is your favorite movie and what character would you play in the movie?
Favorite movie? I love the Iron Man series. Yeah, I love Iron Man. I love Marvel stuff, but Gladiator is really the thing that comes to mind. Yeah, Gladiator. Yeah, I'll take Gladiator. The favorite scene. I think I'm fascinated. The thing that comes to mind is when he's just been captured, he has the wound, and a friend, someone who chooses to be a friend in there, yeah, helps fix the wound by, yeah, I think it was the worm chewing the worm up and putting, yeah, it's very grotesque, yeah, but putting it in the wound. And if you really think about it, like there are many points in stories that are very similar to that, yeah, where you're being helped and that one thing connects you to actually fulfilling your destiny.
I like that. Do you have a philosophy or rules that you stand behind?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I like my thing is relationship with God, relationship with myself, relationship with my wife, a relationship with my family, relationship with my friends. So I built that triangle around, my decisions and who I am and how I do what I do.
I love it. Is there, when you're interviewing someone, are there key pieces or one thing that you always try to be successful when interviewing someone?
Uh, I want them to feel and understand that this is not me attempting to highlight them or what they do within this small period of time, but that it's an archive concept that I have, yeah, that this will go through the next couple of years and it should be referenced that that is what it is, yeah. It's not just publicity. It's history.
It's like a snapshot in time.
It
You're
is
creating a value
exactly
up
that.
to till today, and then you're going to improve on that, or hopefully. I love it. All right, personal stuff. Favorite book.
Favorite book. I'm a book guy. Favorite book. That's a tough one because I'm looking at the books on the side here. All right, I'll give. That's cheating. I'll give the Bible, right? But for those listening as startups, I would say the E Myth, yeah, by Michael E. Gerber. That's been a big one.
I'm going to check that one out. I don't think I've read that one. All right. This is my how to get a good book list. Works every time. So I just keep filing books and reading and reading. I can't keep up, but it's a pretty good, awesome segment to learn that.
Share it with me, yeah. Share some with me, yeah, please.
I will, 100%. All right. Favorite sports team?
Favorites? I've dialed back on the sports, yeah, because of my focus on podcasting. So I'll go back in time and say Manchester United.
Arsenal. You picked Arsenal. That's good. I love it. Good choice. It's a very good choice. I'm just trying to help you out. I'm guiding you along.
I'm
It's
wearing the
okay.
color. I'm wearing the color, folks. Yeah, Manchester
Exactly.
to the world. Yeah.
Fair. All right. Cake or fortune cookie?
Uh, I mean, culturally, I've never had. I don't think I've ever had a fortune cookie. Yeah, because it's
Ah,
just not a thing here. So
yeah.
yeah, I would say just because of that, I'll say cake.
All right. Superman or Batman?
Oh, you brought out the tough ones. Yeah, I would say Batman.
All right. DC or Marvel?
Oh, Marvel.
Fair. If you're picking that, I guess I can let it slide. All right. Football or football?
Soccer.
All
Football.
right. Fair.
And when I say
Elon Musk?
football, soccer. Oh
I
my
know.
gosh. He came into the podcast. Whoa, this guy. Go ahead,
Yeah.
go
Elon Musk or Oprah Winfrey?
ahead. Uh, that's a tough one. Oprah wins.
Done. Big Mac or chicken McNuggets?
Oh my gosh, I'm pescatarian.
All right. Well, they could be vegetarian based only.
uh, uh, yeah, all right. Big
I
Mac.
love it. Done. Well, the last one. What is your superpower?
Hmm. Conversations, aka communication.
I'm going to support that. And I'm also going to add in that you have a great way of connecting with people, if it's mentally, spiritually, however, through communications, all of those. But you just have a great way to make people feel at ease and want to share and work through things. So I'm going to say that, uh, Engel, it's been a pleasure and a real honest, amazing opportunity to get to speak with you today. I'm glad to be able to learn more about you and share that with our audience. So I'm super happy that you were able to jump in today. And the way we like to end our show is we want to give you the last word. So anything you want to share to the audience, a way to connect, how they connect with you, if it's LinkedIn, wherever that might be, please share. But you're a rock star and you've accomplished some pretty amazing feats. And it's been a real pleasure getting the opportunity to speak with you today.
Yeah, same here again. Thank you for the opportunity. Oh, you did such an amazing job with the conversation and the questions. The hour and something felt like 15 minutes. All right, let's give it 12 minutes. Yeah, it felt like 12 minutes. So thank you so much for that. You can reach out to me at 12minuteconvos.com, 12min12min convos.com. Yeah, there's everything there. Or you could go to Amazel Enterprise, Amazel, Amazel Enterprise.com. Our stories there as well.
I love it. Thank you very much, Engel. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure, treasure.